So the yards are divided here, but we've still kept it fairly open so that the robot scrapers can scrape through, keep clean. There's no gates, dead ends, bottoms, bits and pieces from that point of view. And then we've just literally, we haven't reopened the gates yet in that aspect, but we're fully fitted out with Wilson Agriculture cubicles and mattresses, and we've actually this time, because we've renewed everything and installed the new cubicles and put new mattresses in the bottom end, we've actually put a double layer of foam on this time. We did a trial about 2 years ago when we put some new mattresses in and we doubled the foam up. So conventionally you'd put the poly pillow mattress in and put 20 mil or 30 mil of foam on. We actually did a run of cubicles and put the equivalent of 50 mil in, and after about a week every cubicle in that run was full of cows, and if you were going to have gaps it would be in the other run. So when we've done the mattresses this time, we've actually put 50 mil of foam in all of it, and we do and can see better laying times, more comfortable cows and bits and pieces from that point of view. So that's been really pleasing.
Great. So we have Matt there from Wilson Agri. Matt, what type of cubicle is it?
So this is our original cow-coon cubicle. Oliver on the farm here has probably got a sort of a range from cow-coon Mark 1, if you like, through to Mark 2, and the newest extension behind us is our latest model. A few tweaks and changes over the years. Floor mounted cubicle, 50-inch neck bar over and above the mattress, whatever it may be, subject to what people are buying. But like Oliver just said, he's on our pasture mat rubber crumb cell base, actually a twin layer of foam on top. From, like he explained just now, he was seeing better lying times, and for the extra spend he thinks it's worth spending that. And a latex coated top cover, and obviously he's on top of that with green bedding. Okay.
So the rubber here then, or whatever.
Yeah. So basically,
the advantage of that.
Yeah. So basically, the idea is when the cow's in the bed, you'll see in traditional all steel stalls, they'll be shiny at these points, contact points. So the cow-coon was brought about in about 2012, 2013 to allow that if the cow is going to make contact with the stall, it may as well be plastic that will move a couple of inches either way. And that's where it stemmed from.
Is that all plastic in there? There's no steel in there?
No. So basically from that point where the insert stops to here is just hollow wall plastic, 8 mil wall thickness. Which we've since changed and tweaked, and Oliver's highlighted he likes the new plastic that we're using in the latest model. But yeah, the idea is the same.
And then I suppose the ideal scenario is that if the cow is standing, she's room for her head to stand up, is it? And she's not lying too far forward.
Yeah, correct. We want the cow to be able to get in the bed, 4 feet in the bed, no perching, get up in there, make her decision. She wants to lie, and down she goes. And also when she's getting up, she's got the confidence to get up without catching herself. But also with the purchase, her feet's got in the mattress beneath because of the depth. She's got fantastic grip and confidence to get up and make her decision to leave the bed.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, and I'd agree with that. And one of the things that we have found with the extra bit of foam in there, actually the cows can properly get their feet in nice and strong. Do you know what I mean? And actually quite a confidence thing. If you look, we all have it. If you get a cow that all of a sudden develops a bit of mastitis or has a bit of milk fever or something, and they are laying in a cubicle, do you know what I mean? Actually, we've seen the fact that when you are here and you do try and get them up or they want to stand, they've got quite a bit of confidence to get up because they can get their back feet in because they know they can. From that point of view. And I think the setup as well with the sort of the front brisket rail and bits and pieces, getting that right. We had to adjust these ones in this shed a little bit when we refitted the top cover. We brought them back 2 inches just to suit the heifers, and that's made a big difference because we've got no wet areas really now, no manure on the beds, nice and clean, nice and tidy from that point of view. So we had previously a brisket rail that was attached to the cubicles where you can sometimes U-bolt them on, and we were continually finding that if the cows are nudging them every 3-4 months, they were pushing them forward 2 or 3 inches, and all of a sudden you then get 40 cows laid in a line 3 inches further forward. You can soon get a lot of muck to have to hand scrape off quite quickly. So having that there and pinned in place and fixed to the concrete makes quite a difference. So
We've been on a couple of farms this week in the UK. We've seen a lot of fans.
Yeah.
You don't have fans.
It's actually on the wish list for this year.
Yeah.
To be totally honest, to put them in. We've always historically got away with it. We're called Windy Barn Farm, and we are pretty windy. We're the highest point to the east coast from here, and we have. It's a really difficult one, and unless you're here, a lot of people don't understand it. We do have a different environment over here in the east of the country. We are generally warmer, drier bits and pieces, but the buildings are high and very open.
For that reason?
Yeah, exactly that reason. The only way I can describe it is we've built a building that's very similar to how they'd build them in California. Do you know what I mean? You want big open buildings. Effectively, as my consultant said to me one day, you're basically putting a roof on an open yard. Do you know what I mean? So we've gone higher, and we've tipped the buildings up as well to get good airflow as well. So we are from concrete to gutter height, right on the outside of the building. We are 5.5 metres. Do you know what I mean?
And you went for no vent in the middle. You went more.
Yeah, so we've put the split roof in. We saw some really good results in a couple of buildings that we looked at before we put this building up. And obviously this has been up since 2012 now, 2013. The building draws really well. And actually you can't quite see it, but there was some steam coming off that robot a minute ago, and it's amazing how it does draw up. If you get a morning where it's very cold and the robots go into a wash and you've got all the steam, it's a really good example at about 7:30 every morning of the ventilation in the building, and that is just up and gone. And actually the ventilation in here, we've got a partially open ridge so it can breathe, but because it's over a central set of cubicles, we're really nervous about getting a lot of wet in if it does get wet. So the actual drawer on this building comes through the side, goes up, and can actually pull out. Yeah, we've done a few sort of trials and smoke bombs and bits and pieces, and if you let something off, you can really see it draw and pull. Do you know what I mean? And it was also a bit of a reason why we've ended up on the green bedding. We went through sawdust, we went through EnviroBed, we went through different bits and pieces, and the problem that we had was you need something that is dry but dense enough to stay. Okay. Because if you come in here and it's a bit of a breeze going on, you can see that going out that building now. And you come in here with sawdust, to be honest, you may as well be putting it on that field. Do you know what I mean? Because you'll come in here with a machine, the sawdust will pick up in the wind, and you might as well bed 5 runs of cubicles over. So it's compared to other places in the country, we don't have the rainfall, we don't have the moisture content. We're sat on top of a hill. Yeah, we can manage the ventilation in a bit of a different way.
This week as well, we've seen a lot of sand cubicles. Did you consider sand or not? Or is it available locally? Or?
Yeah, so we did. And it's probably the holy grail of cow comfort and probably management. But to be honest, I actually believe it doesn't matter what system you have, if you manage it well, it works really well. The one thing that put us off sand, to be totally honest, was it looks good, it looks right. We're on clay line lagoons. We have to move a lot of slurry because of the logistics of the farm in tankers and down the road. So dealing with sand is absolutely fine up until the point that you then have to deal with it in a pump or a tanker or something in any shape or form. So, and getting it to flow. We've got 400 or just about 400 cows. We're going to put nearly 160 heifer cubicles in. We have one slurry pump on the farm that basically pumps to the separator and down. That's it. Everything else is gravity.
So Oliver, you've the next phase of development here?
Yeah, exactly. So because of the way that we moved out of the parlour into the robots, we've had to sort of like go round like a bit of a jigsaw with building extensions. So we put the robots in here and had cows milking in here to start with. We then did the furthest building and got that completed, so we'll walk into there in a minute and we can see that. But the guys from Wilson's were literally here last week fitting these cubicles in the bottom end here. So if we can nip round here and you can just see a few of the differences. Matthew will just sort of show you the few differences.
Yeah. So like Oliver's highlighted, this would be almost, like I said, over there, phase 3. So your plastic is going onto the bracket as a whole unit, as opposed to originally there was an insert, an extra bolt. So that's a change there. Post coming up and through and utilising the T-clamp in the top end here. We utilise a heavy-duty neck bar now with M14 locking nuts and bolts and a double-plated design with shims, just to help out. Obviously, if something's got to move, the plastic needs its support so the loop stays in a straight line. Because if this starts moving, you're asking too much for this, and you're going to end up losing plastics, which isn't the end of the world. Nothing's going to get hurt, but you got to switch them out. So we've upgraded here. Little small things. You see your color-coded poly pillows now to match the Wilson Agri green. And going forward, just because of the drive and the demand that we have, and a lot of robots going in, red will come probably next, and then blue will come after as an option if people want to, match things up.
Okay.
But green is the Wilson Agri colour, hence the original ones are as they are.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's just it's a good opportunity to see as well how you can see the depth of the mattress with the extra foam on it, how much comfort there actually is there. Do you know what I mean? And how much flexibility that gives when you do actually come and good old put your knee in it test. You can literally drop in there with your knee and you don't feel anything. And if you don't, then certainly a cow isn't. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
And the other thing as well is with the. Am I right? This is a slightly thicker cover than what we will have started with day one.
Yeah,
isn't
just
it?
again progression.
Yeah.
And your latex cover now is in and around 4 or 5 mil.
Yeah.
So you're looking for, even in a system like this where he's got cows in 365, in out, we'd still be expecting 10, 12 years out of this cover, even though it's working very hard on the depth that Oliver has it at.
Yeah, no, exactly. But the one thing that we've noticed, so we obviously started with the original covers, and that shed we've just come out of obviously was put up 2012. The covers weren't actually worn out, and we've just changed them, and they're sort of 10, 11 years. Do you know what I mean? But the covers are thicker, and actually then they can actually get the tension on them a lot better because of the strength in the cover compared to the original ones. So that's made a big difference, just how tight you can get them, and actually then how it does last because of it from that point of view. So we're looking at getting some cows in here now. So
You didn't tank this?
no. We've moved away from it slightly because there's other than in front of the robots and a couple of sections in the middle for Slurry, effectively for the collectors and scrapers to drop into. We wanted to originally tank everything, but which is why that shed was done. But we've actually found we're so dry in the summer that on the tops of the majority of the slats we can't keep them wet enough. And what we were finding in the middle of the summer was that we were getting a very, very slight film on it. Purely our environment, purely the amount of wind that we have in the summer and bits and pieces and airflow, that all of a sudden you get that greasy film build up, and all of a sudden actually the cows aren't on concrete, they're on the film on top. And you get 4 or 5 cows bulling one day, and it can be pretty dangerous. So that's why we've actually moved away. And although we walk down a middle passage, actually on the outside passages that were originally tanked, we've taken some of the slats out, moved them round to put the end sections in, just so where the cows are standing feeding and bits and pieces, they are actually on solid concrete. So now we're basically effectively slatted at the robot, slatted in the middle, and slatted at the bottom, which is sort of to finish off and come here.
So cleaning this, Oliver, is with the Lely machine?
Yeah. So the guys from Wilson's literally finished in here last Friday, Saturday. My lads and bits and pieces on the farm, we've had a bit of tidy up, sweep up, get sorted and done. And actually, just because obviously we've had the Dairy Tech show here this week, Lely are coming next week to remap the shed with the extra passages in for the collectors to come down into here. So the guys are out from Lely next week to fit them and do that, and the cows will then be in here.
Okay. So we're looking at your
you
separator here.
Yes, you have to excuse a bit of a mess, but obviously this was, it looks significantly better than this. But basically we got caught out, should have been moved just before Christmas onto a new gantry, which you can sort of see behind. But just with weather, time, running into Christmas and bits and pieces, we didn't want to get in a complete mess, so we pushed it back afterwards. So everything slurry-wise goes through the separator, but we've got different settings on it. So on days that we're taking stuff off it for bedding, we will crank it up and we can get it up to about 42% dry matter. So that's why when you look at it on the beds, it genuinely looks like cotton wool and it's really dry. And then basically on the other days, we use the same separator, but we let all the weight back off it, let it run through to get a separator and manure that we then can cart out as a solid out into the field, which really helps us out from a capacity point of view. So.
And for your bedding, do you add any lime to it or anything like that?
Yeah, so we actually separately lime, so we don't add lime into the bedding.
Yeah.
We tried it early on, and actually just getting it consistently through. Because we put the bedding in with a JCB forklift with a front-mounted dispenser on it, was getting it accurate enough. So we actually just run a little walk-along machine, put it on the beds once a week, and that way we know every bed can get a bit of lime on it every week, no matter what we're doing bedding-wise, and it's nice and consistent.
Okay.
There, so
yeah.
From that point of view.
So are you using solar to drive any of that or not? Or
no, we're not. Plan actually over sort of phase 4, for want of a better word, when we get sorted around. One of the things we're looking at is actually putting a small scale on farm AD in. The challenge I think with solar is, and it was always our issue when we looked at it and we looked at the numbers when we were in the parlour, we're spending too many hours in the dark. So utilising solar is brilliant if you can manage storage, manage batteries, bits and pieces to make it effective. And we weren't ever in a position to get any tariffs or bits and pieces so that you can prop it up. So from a purely standalone basis, that's the next phase of the plan, and that works in nicely with sort of the overall farm theme of moving to a more consistent sort of electric usage through the robots 24 hours a day. We put the electric collectors in bits and pieces and so that we actually can use a consistent supply coming off an AD, something like that, and it utilises the slurry as well. Do you know what I mean? So,
what kind of output is this machine, like per gallons per hour, roughly? Any idea?
Yeah, so roughly speaking, we will run it for about 3 hours a day, and we're roughly putting about 45 to 50 cube of slurry through it. From that point of view, it slows down slightly when we're wanting to screw it a bit harder for the bedding, but roughly speaking, we're putting about 50 cube a day through of liquid slurry, and roughly out of that we're pulling about 20% of that out as good viable solid from that point of view. So makes two things we've noticed from that as the separator. Firstly, it's a far easier job to get the solid further away from the farm easily. Secondly, where we are wanting to then use the liquid product, because it's not a heavy dense slurry product, it's very sort of watery compared to conventional slurry, actually the usability of it is much greater because it can get in quicker, it's more effective, you don't get that sitting on the top in the same way. So actually splitting it and doing what we've done has been really, really effective.
Yeah.
So from that point of view.
Yeah, so that will go on your first cart then, will it?
Yeah, so generally also because we're on relatively heavy clay land, and because we're generally pushing the grass fairly early, sometimes weather dependent, this should be a good classic with the rain that we've had, we're a little bit limited on what we can get out. So we've actually got about 9 months storage on the farm from a liquid point of view. So as long as we can manage it correct going into the autumn, we can actually get all the way through to April, get to first cut, and then utilise it much more efficiently. So we would generally be using artificial in sort of February, March, ready for first cut, and then basically after first cut, after second cut, we would be using a lot of liquid then, and we find as well that because we obviously then get dry as we head into the summer, having put that on in a more organic form actually lasts longer and it will feed out more. And actually, if we get really dry and we go into June and we put a reasonable dose on, we can actually more or less grow after second cut a pretty decent third cut, even if we're dry, because effectively we're putting it on in water volume.
Okay.
So it works pretty well. So we'll skip round here.
Yeah. You left plenty of space between the two sheds.
Yeah, we did. Just airflow again. Do you know what I mean? So there's 16 metres between the buildings, and it's probably the mistake we made when we put the first building up between what was the parlour shed and the building. We only left 8 metres.
Yeah.
And it's actually surprising how, when you get over here, it's much different from an airflow point of view than you are between the two tighter buildings.
Yeah.
So. So this is basically, effectively, the more finished format of the buildings. You can see in here, obviously, we're on total solid floor. And obviously we've got the yokes all the way down the side. So basically there is 15 bays of yokes. So effectively we've got 108 yokes. Our intention is to run about 100 cows in a group, and we've got 112 cubicles in here. So hopefully then we've got a nice balance then of plenty of space, plenty of line space, plenty of feed space. And just keep it really simple, really.
Do these all lock it in one go, or is it per bay they lock, or how?
It's however you want them set. We advise as a company, try not to lock more than 3 bays at a time. But you could have them working, you know, this bay, that bay, or group them. Oliver puts them as he wants them. He just lets me know how many joiners handles is required. So he can basically put that as he needs. You can release a single cow if anything's in trouble as well, by hand, and we actually do a trigger that you can use. So you know, as you can see across the farm, he's utilising a lot of self-locking yokes. Across the farm there's probably about 100 bays worth between installed and what's on the yard and on order, both in a 7-space wave design for the adults, and he's also got some 8 and 9 space models for heifers, young stock, however you want to call, subject to their age and what's the need. But you know, it's a relatively simple design. It's either sat free in float feed mode, and there's no clattering or banging of the mechanism because it sits horizontal out the way. And the wave design helps larger animals access in and out, and leaves a nice finish, really.
Yeah, so like Matthew said, so basically on these we've got the bottom pen, which is in the collect pen as its own section. So if we've got a cow that we've collected up into where the gates are, we can just lock that one section, deal with a cow, treatment cow or something like that, and then basically we've got the rest set in 2 sections. So this section here is actually I think either 5 or 6. So that if you are wanting to all of a sudden, I don't know, TB testing, big vet routine or something, you're not thinking from our point of view, right, I've got to walk down 15 handles, 15 yokes. You quite simply do a couple of sections. And the one thing that we really liked about them, and that is we're sort of standing here, there's cows in and out, you can't hear them. You can get a lot of yokes where you go to farms and all you can hear is tink, 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 tink all the time.
It's an annoying sound.
Yeah, exactly. And so
you've got your rubber bushes.
Yeah, exactly. And it just exactly comes out.
Nylon flippers.
So you've got nylon in there, which means that when they are clicked, that they're quiet. Like Matthew said, these aren't actually running over the main locking system, so they're quiet. And then when they do drop back, they just hit a nylon bush. So that's about as much as you get. So from that point of view. So
back to tech. So on the farm, so you have the lily collar, but you have a co-manager.
That's.
Say, is one just doing ID or what? Where is crossover?
Yeah, so collar is purely ID, purely and utterly for number of cow. We had exactly the same system, like the SCR collars for in the parlour as well. So they've got cow's line number on them, which matches up with ear tag, and that's purely for the ID and the robot. From a management point of view, we then use Cow Manager, something we've used now for, I think we're 7 or 8 years in now. And from a fertility point of view, we used to, like a lot of people have done conventionally, we used to walk and chalk the cows, sort of more of like an RMS system. To be honest now, we are more or less just totally and utterly off the Cow Manager system. It's very, very accurate.
So does the AI technician come, or do you do it yourselves entirely?
Yeah, so we're a bit of a combination. The guys, we've got 3 of us on the farm that can AI, and if we are doing some big sinks or a lot of heifer sinks and bits and pieces, we have got the facility of an AI technician, but a fair chunk of it's done on the farm now. So you can see basically we've come over here. This is fundamentally group 3 for us. And it doesn't matter where you go, it's identical. It is literally identical. So we put the feeding system in from ND Genes. Really, really pleased with that. One of the biggest things that we sort of saw or have spoken to people on farms, and that is where the auger systems comes in. If you if you get if you don't get much of a hopper, and it's just literally motor into a pipe, to be honest, you can empty a pipe in 2 cows. Whereas with this, we're holding about 60 kilos of feed above each robot.
Okay.
If you get an auger system problem, a motor issue, or cloggage in the bin, it doesn't happen very often, but you get it, we can actually get all the way through a night, just about, and not affect the feed in and out of the robots. So works really well. Secondly, it's a really easy visual with the sight glasses on the side.
Okay.
When the guys come in the morning, some of their first checks is walk along, robots, make sure everything's all right, nothing wrong with the foot bath, is there feed in the feeder, what's going on? And it's just that really easy simplicity. How easy do you make it so that it's easy for people to see? You sort of can't quite see it because they're full of food, but what you also have from the bin down to the robot is a clear tube rather than a solid one.
Yes.
So actually when you're in here, you can see the food dropping. So whereas you wouldn't see it in the bin, we can stand here now, and when the next cow comes in or walks up or whatever, actually when it starts to dispense the feed, you can just see the feed dropping. So actually, you got 8 robots, it's fine. But actually, it's those little things that you can walk on and go, no, all the feed's dropping, it's all right. Because as anybody who's been in robot knows, if you stop feeding, then if you stop feeding or there's a feeder issue, it's one of the biggest effects for visits to robots. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just keeping those simple things like that to do. Do you know what I mean?
Have you weighing on each robot or not?
No, we haven't put the weighing in. Weight loss and condition, we haven't had a lot of issues with. We're pretty hot on how we feed, what we do, keeping a close eye on things. We condition score post carving, and we condition score pre-dry off. And we manage the weights pretty well. So it was just one of those things that we didn't feel by putting it in and having something else and the money involved in putting 8 sets of it in that we'd probably overly use.
Okay. So fat and protein, you're measuring that?
Yep. So on the robots, we're fat, protein, and we've got the MQC2 units, which give us live cell count all the time as well. So we've got that set up. On like the variable setting, so because otherwise you can go through a hell of a lot of fluid. Basically what it does is, as long as it's a low cell count, it'll only do every 3rd milking. And then if a cell count spikes or it will do the next couple of milkings till it settles down again. And to be fair, the guys on the farm love it. It's really good, it's really informative, it gives you something really quick and some really good clear information quite quickly to be able to react. And obviously we're all under an element of pressure for lowering antibiotic use and so on and bits and pieces, and actually we're finding now that with a little bit of anti-inflammatory and a little bit of Udamint, if you're catching that stuff early, it's quite surprising what you can achieve and do without getting that classic two more days down the line, then you're going straight in with antibiotics because it's severe.
Hard,
So and it's the combination. It's the combination of cow manager seeing what's going on with rumination and eating. And the one thing that we really liked about cow manager was the fact that compared to some of the other systems, the data that you're getting is cow against herself, not cow against herd average. So therefore, when the parameters of the cow move, the reaction speed of the system to pick it up is so much quicker because it's her deviation from her own point, not as a whole herd average. And that's been one of the biggest response. So, I mean, if we go back 7-8 years ago, we would, on occasions, different times of the year, perhaps get a bit of a spate of some E. coli mastitis, depending on what was going on in the environment, certainly with big weather changes. And all of a sudden now, we can actually pick up E. coli in a cow through Cow Manager and the robot before you can see it.
Okay.
So you might see a slight hardening in the quarter, or you might see a slight discoloration, but literally we're getting to the point now where the robot's flagging something, Cow Manager's starting to tweak on eating time or rumination, and actually we're still having to then CMT to actually physically see the difference. And if we then can get in front of that from that point of view, whereas with E. coli, if it got bad, you may even go as far as losing the cow. To be honest, we're not even losing the quarter. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, so it's really pleasing from that point of view. So.